So first of all, I'm just going to introduce myself. I'm Laurie Friedrich. I currently work at the Reading Center here at the University of Nebraska, and I also used to teach at Concordia University. So as we pull this partnership of schools together, it's been exciting to see everybody come together on this day. So thanks for your participation. You came to a section on digital storytelling. So what I would like to begin with is knowing how many of you have done digital storytelling with your students. Okay, a few of you have. That's great. There are just a lot of ways that you can use a tool like digital storytelling, and we'll talk about how it can be done for a literacy kind of a block where you have students actually write stories, and we'll look at those examples. You can also do it with doing reports for science, history, any other topic. You can do it with a field trip. I'm going to show you a little digital story that I made on a trip to Breckenridge, actually, which just brings some pictures and audio and visual elements together and allows students to have a voice. And that's the important part of our presentation today, is giving voice to children. The students in your class have a lot to tell and to share, and so we want to allow them to do that. All right. There was just a very interesting white paper that came out this fall talking about digital storytelling. I just want to highlight a couple of those ideas. They call digital storytelling an essential method in education today. Not something that would be fun or interesting to try, but actually essential. That it can take constructs that are difficult, abstract, and make them very understandable for students. It engages the students. Today we're all going to be talking about helping your students be the creators and not just the consumers of the information that they come in contact with. So it's engaging. There's video, there's audio, there can be music, there's movement. It helps them to be able to share what they're doing. They can share in the collaboration process of writing. They can also share once they're finished. It can be put up at a school website where parents and other friends can access, or teachers can go in and give feedback as well, so they have an audience. And it also helps them to feel that sense of accomplishment. You know, students and everybody, when you finish and you accomplish something, hopefully today you're going to feel really good about what you create. And you're going to want to go back and share that with your students. You'll have a sample, you know how to do it, and you'll know that your students can do that as well. So as we get ready for this global world that they're going to be living in, digital storytelling has become somewhat of an essential quality. Way back in 2003, the National Council of Teachers of English issued a challenge to teachers and encouraged them to put together instructional strategies so that students could master composing. I think it's interesting, they didn't say writing anymore. Composing means bringing all of those elements together in exciting ways to demonstrate learning and understanding. And so it also becomes very, very engaging. So again, in the 21st century, when we talk about writing, students are more composing the information that they're learning. This is just a very simple graphic that gives us a way to look at what we're going to present. So you know how your students learn best. You know that if we can include some technology within that lesson, it helps it become engaging and motivating and prepares them for the 21st century in which they're living and working. And it helps them to be able to share things globally, just as if you were in Angie's excellent presentation. She was connecting with a classroom in Texas this morning. And you can do the same thing with the writing that you're having students do. They can share that with the world today. So the audience is just much, much larger. There's a teacher who's presenting today who, when I went in to visit her and observe her teaching with technology, she shared one sentence over and over with her class, and I just loved it. And she said, you know, students, whenever we use technology in our class, we are going to learn three things. We're going to learn our content, we're going to learn how to use technology, and we're going to learn patience. And so if you've ever seen that little spinning wheel come up, she always asked her class, what are we learning now? And the whole class would say, patience. Because, right, it takes a time, and sometimes it doesn't work exactly as we hope it will. Okay, if you've looked at any of the multiple literacy standards for the state of Nebraska, you know that it suggests that by kindergarten, students should be able to find information on the web. They should be able to use and create multimedia, and this will help your students get to that level. They should be able to do research online. and they should know who the author of information was. They should be able to tell if that's credible or not. They understand internet safety. They can participate in online activities with other cultures, which again, if you used a Skype kind of a presentation, would be very, very possible. Some of you who are student teachers right now, I encourage you to follow where the people that you are in classes with end up going, because you can do some great collaboration. You know, if one ends up taking a position in Florida and one is in Nebraska, you can see a lot of diversity as your classes connect to talk about a story or to do a writing project together. And then they're expected to be able to communicate electronically. So this is one thing that I know a lot of teachers said, I'm just a little nervous. I don't really know if I know how to do all those things. So I'm not positive I can help students do that. The International Society for Technology and Education is called ISTE. They have a list of standards for technology for students and then also for teachers that will help you in this whole big area of knowing where should I head, what should I do. So the kinds of things they want students to do with technology, and I want you to challenge yourself. Think about how you have students using technology currently. So are they able to demonstrate their own creativity and innovation in creating things? Or are they more passive users of the technology? So we're kind of moving in that direction of the students create. So instead of you putting together the digital story, they make it. And I was just out there. It was so much fun to watch people from other sectionals, and maybe you were in some of those, but they were walking around with flip cameras, taking some video, and they're putting that into an online report. And some were out there with their iPad 2s, snapping pictures, and they were putting that into a flow of photos to tell a story. So all of those things that you learn, you can go back and your students probably have done already. Also, we want them to communicate and collaborate, that they would be conducting research and using that information in important ways, especially the critical thinking, problem solving, that we want to really work with that. Digital citizenship, and then using technology effectively. So that's what we're looking for students. So all through the day, I challenge you to think about how might this idea help me to help my students reach that level that it's expected today. You know, we no longer have the choice of whether or not we're going to teach with technology. We really have reached the point where we need to. Our students are living in the 21st century. They need it for schooling. They're going to need it when they get it to the university level, and they definitely are going to need it for careers. So the more that we can help them feel comfortable with a variety of technologies, the better they're going to do, and that's what we want as teachers. Now, the one I'm excited about, those ISTE standards for teachers. And I first want to start out by saying, it says you should engage in professional growth, and you should continue to learn and model those digital technologies for your students so that they see you doing it, and then they kind of pick up on that too. So congratulations to each of you, because you attended this conference today, and that shows me that you're interested in growing professionally and learning how to use more technologies and adding those into your teaching repertoire. So that's fantastic. You're on the absolute right track. But yeah, we're here to facilitate and inspire our students. We want to make it fun and exciting, that they can learn that content we're required to teach, and then they can add the technology piece to make it a little bit more engaging and help them to get even the most current information in their research instead of some that's somewhat dated in our textbooks. So you saw this Pac model already, but I just wanted to quickly show you and tell you where we want to go is this exciting place right in the center, this intersection between what you know as the important content you teach. You know that there's certain things you have to teach in every subject area. And the pedagogy, you know if your students learn best in small groups, if this is going to be a large group activity, if it should be research-based, if it's going to be reading. So how are you going to merge those two? And now just think of that exciting layer of technology. How could technology be incorporated to help these students go to the next level there as well? So it's not, and I know some of you in your schools have probably seen that, the idea of the computer teacher. Do you still have a computer teacher at your school? Okay, some do. Some have merged them into like media specialists, so it's the library with the computer person. More and more the direction schools are going is that every teacher is the computer teacher, and that you're the one who's going to be doing these things with your students. And so you want to be as prepared as you can with as many ideas as you can. But that's a model to keep in mind as you're looking at planning lessons. So our goal for our time together this morning, we want to look at 3 different digital storytelling options. Angie earlier mentioned Storybird.com, and we're going to look at that. I see some smiles. Maybe people are familiar with that. A very simple free program on the web that everybody can access. Students can put together wordless or word books and publish it and share it with the world. We're going to look at Photo Story 3, which is actually set up for a PC, and then we're going to look at Glogster.com and have you spend a little bit of time putting together a digital story. So that's where we're going to head. All right, Storybird. This is what it looks like. It asks you to go ahead and begin by picking a type of artwork that you would like to use, and then you can also explore a theme. So if your students went in, they could automatically begin creating a story. And then what happens is their artwork comes up, they just click and drag, and that picture appears. So I'm going to just take you into the Storybird website and show you how we can just, with a click of a button, just start a Storybird now. And you'll actually want to go in and set up a teacher account, which takes about 2 or 3 minutes, not very long. And it does tell you that when you go to publish, you never want to actually use like your real first name and last name, or your students, you wouldn't want that. I think I had literacy 1. I just kind of picked a term that would, when I actually publish, that's what's going to show up. Because again, that might go on your website or any place else. Or you could have your students use a first name or something, but never the whole thing. And it guides you through that. So first of all, you would pick some type of artwork. I don't know, this pirate looks kind of fun today, doesn't he? So this would be the type of art, and do I like that? Yeah, I think that looks just fine. And we'll start a Storybird with this type of artwork. So I've picked my art. Now I have to think about my story. And remember, I'm composing. So I'm thinking in terms of art. I'm thinking in terms of the storyline, and how do I pull that together? So any of these pictures that I like, I just pull over and drop. If I want it on this side, I can drop it. And then I can just click and do my my writing on the other side. So I have a keyboard, and I can just say, what would be a good title for that? What does that look like to you? Who's feeling creative today? Tell me louder.
They're offering tea to the 10.
Oh, so maybe we could call it a tea party or something like that.
Tea with Teddy.
Excuse me?
Tea with Teddy.
Oh, I like that. Tea with Teddy. Perfect. And then every time I hit a plus, I just can add another page. So then I can, maybe it's going to get kind of scary, or maybe the giraffe will come and join us. Oh, and he's licking his lips. Oh, maybe he could say, that tea looks great. And then we could maybe put an ending to the story. Let's see. Does it have a happy ending? Anything there look interesting? That looks interesting, doesn't it? Wow. Maybe they could say what? Tea was too hot, or something like that. And that can be the end, actually, of our story. And let's just see, we could go ahead and save that. And that's when it'll kind of take you through starting an account. So then it'll let you do it really quickly and simply and say, and it's all free. So do you see how quick that works? And this is one that I put together. I thought I would just quickly show you. There are great examples of Storybirds that are put together by kindergartners all the way up, because older students can also put things with it. And special needs students can use this because they can even put together just a wordless book. So they can pick the stories. I just called it Fun with My Friend. And it just said, my friend and I have lots of fun together. We like to dance. We play yo-yos. One of us is better than the other, but we don't care. In the summer, we take a picnic, go to the park. We even have a bicycle built for 2, so we can ride bikes together. And then on Halloween, we go trick-or-treating. When one of us has a birthday, we get together to bake a cake. No matter what we do, at the end of the day, there's no one I'd rather do it with than my special friend. And then when you're finished, you have the chance to either send that to a friend, and you can do that in the middle of that process as well. So if you want to do a few lines and then send it to a friend in your class or in another classroom, you can collaborate on the story. And so then they can add the next chapter, and then you can kind of come back and forth that way. So, simple enough, Storybird looks like something you could handle, I'm sure. It's kind of fun to explore the different types of artwork. And you know, sometimes with writing, don't you find when children go to publish, they always say, I can't draw? Sometimes art's the hard thing. And so, have you ever given a visual as a writing prompt? I do all the time. I love that. So if they can look in there and see a few pictures and kind of, they can go through and organize the pictures first. Then they can go back and add a storyline, or you could start with a story, and then they can go find the pictures to help them tell that story that they've written. So it works together nicely. A very simple type of a digital story. Okay, I want to show you now one digital story that I put together about a trip to Breckenridge. And so I want you to think just a little bit about what makes a digital story.
Welcome to Breckenridge. There's so much to do in lovely Breckenridge, Colorado in the fall. I'd love to show you some of my favorite finds. As we arrive in Breckenridge, we find ourselves 9,600 feet above sea level in a small town nestled in the Rocky Mountains. Situated around Maggie's Pond are welcoming ski lodges, restaurants, art shops, and beautiful homes. Beautiful flowers line the walking paths and adorn lawns and buildings. Even high up in the mountains, multicolored flowers poke their blooms up to adorn the countryside. The leaves of the aspen trees wave in the breeze. Soon they will turn a beautiful yellow, painting the landscape with brilliant color. Breckenridge began as a mining town. Miners panned for gold during the gold rush, and many mines still exist. They dredged the streams for gold, leaving large piles of rocks bordering the water. Not much gold was found, but many rock piles can still be seen throughout the town. Rushing streams run wildly all summer as snow continues to melt in the mountains. Some snow will still be left on the highest peaks when the new snow arrives this winter. No matter the season, riding the gondola is a highlight. The glassed-in car allows beautiful views in all directions. There's so much to do in the mountains. Hiking, mountain biking, fishing, or just relaxing and enjoying the beautiful scenery. The view from the top of the mountain is breathtaking. At the end of the day, we stand in awe of God's beautiful creation. Enjoy your time in Breckenridge.
All right, what were some of the elements that you would point out, things that you think should be present when we're talking about creating a digital story? You could just kind of shout those out. We're a nice small group. A sequence. Okay, so you wanted to kind of decide what you were going to do in what order. And when I take you into Photo Story, you can just see that you can, and you can do it in iMovie as well. So whichever way you choose to do it, you drag your photos or video clips in the order that you want to share those in the story that you're going to tell. So there's a sequence, there's a story involved. What else was a part of that digital story? A narrative. And that, again, that idea of giving voice to the child, they get to tell about their experience. How many of you still get to do any sort of a field trip? Do you do some things? Okay, can you see how something like this would be really a fun thing if they went on the field trip and instead of writing that paper necessarily maybe about what I did on my field trip or my day to the zoo or something, if they went along with little cameras, a flip camera, and they got to actually see the lion walking around and they could capture that, take some pictures of the monkeys and the hippos, they bring them back and they could each put together, or in teams, they could put together a digital story about that experience. So yeah, another piece would be a picture or a video or something such as that. What's another piece that was part of that story? There is music. You can go ahead and choose music to put in. It kind of makes it come alive. And we said the narrative, so you can have voice, you can add music. Anything else?
The narrative and the pictures have to go together.
They did. And, in Photo Story, I'll show you that you can actually, and this is what I did just because I didn't want it to be just spontaneous. And I'm going to show you a child's example in just a moment too, where they actually wrote their story first, and next to the picture you can write in your story so that as you read it into the microphone, you actually have exactly what your story is. Or you can do it extemporaneously, where your picture comes up and you talk about it. And either way, they'll capture their voice with the recorder, and then if they don't like it, they just re-record until it's exactly what they wanted to say. What would you think would be exciting about hearing the student's voice as they kind of relive that experience? What would it sound like if they had it would be exciting. Sometimes they write the story, I saw a bear, and it's like, what did it do? And the other thing is I tried to intentionally put in a few exciting words so you could talk about, what did you see the bear do? How did it walk? Instead of saying it walked around the cage, it woggled, whatever kind of a word they could think of that would explain what that was like. So they can make the words kind of come alive and their excitement comes through. Anything else? What about the pictures? Were they stagnant? Excellent. There's some movement, isn't there? Ken Burns. Yeah, you can, and these programs will automatically do that, or you can reset it. Some of them have where you can, close it and open it, and some of that is kind of distracting, I think, but kids might enjoy that. So you can have movement, and I don't know, I'm sure you probably didn't notice, but when it had a title, that page doesn't zoom in. So if you actually want to use a title page where you write a caption on the picture, then you should put that picture twice, because the first one will stay still and then the second one it'll just go straight through seamlessly in Zoom. So let's see if we caught most of those elements. Yeah, I think so. We had pictures. We had
The ski chalet at the base of Peak 8.
just some voice. You can add some sort of audio. We could put in music, and that's in all of the programs. Again, if you're using iMovie, if you're using Photo Story, wherever you're at, you can put that music in the background. It's got the voice, so you can record the child's voice, and you can add video as well in many programs. All right, do you see how that might be engaging for students? Yeah, okay. Again, they're watching a lot of these. I'm amazed. We now use iPads at the Reading Center with our at-risk readers, and we thought this was going to be kind of new for them. Boy, they know a lot of those apps because their parents have got an iPhone or they have an iPad at home. So they're used to this. I mean, on a regular basis, they're pretty much engaging with technology. So it helps them to, even the reluctant readers and writers can go and make a very professional looking story, and they feel really good about it. They have a voice, they have something to say, and this empowers them to do that. It can also change the way that they see themselves in their classroom, and it can add to the idea of classroom. It goes far beyond those walls. Sense of audience, what's the key when you're writing? What do you have to always think about? Who you're writing for. Exactly. So if this particular digital story is going to be put up on your website, and parents are going to see this, and my friends are going to see this, and whomever else, they're writing for an audience. So what would I want to tell my parents about that trip at the zoo, or about what I just learned about animals in my research project? What would I want to tell them? So it gives them the technology to tell the story that they already have. Writing. How long, first of all, was that? Could you get a sense of how long that digital story was? It was 2 minutes and 20 seconds. And generally, a digital story is between 2 and 5 minutes. They don't go for 20 and more. It's pretty short. And have you ever had to cut your words down to be less instead of more? Is that easy or hard? It's hard. It's hard. It's much easier to keep writing and writing and writing. And when those pictures come up, it's all set on a timer, and that was set for 5 seconds, but it will stay on as long as your voice speaks. So as soon as you end your narrative, then it'll move on to the next picture. You can kind of arrange all of that. So what is the most important idea that they want to share about that one picture or video clip that they have? And then you help them put that together. Okay, there is a concept called exploding the narrative, and there's a book that it's written by Lisa Miller, and it's called Make Me a Story, Teaching Writing Through Digital Storytelling. It's really nice, and she has a DVD that comes in there, and it just has examples of students' stories where they use their own pictures or actual photos or pictures that they've drawn and scanned in. So it's a really helpful resource, and Lisa talks about exploding the narrative. So if the child writes about the whole day, I got up, I got on the bus, we drove to the zoo, I saw a monkey, I saw a lion, I ate lunch, I did this. Exploding the narrative says take one scene and make it come alive. I want you to rewrite that now. Just take several minutes and write about just seeing the lion and talk about the senses and how you felt when you did that and really make that part come alive. And then that's what they create the digital story about. So taking a small amount and adding a lot of detail, and isn't that just good writing? Don't you try to get students to do that? So adding a lot of detail, and now they can add pictures to help tell that story as well. And they can put music. So was that scary when the lion opened its mouth and started to roar? So maybe they can choose music that's a little scary in the background at that point, or adventurous. And then they can take the storyboard and lay it out and begin to tell that story. Okay, and now I just want to show you one of those children's stories from Lisa Miller's book. It's called Penguins in Action.
Penguins in Action. The sky is clear over the Chilean mountains. Humble penguins climb over on the cliffs in the warm sun. Stay still until I come back. The mom humble penguin waddles off to get her food. Calls out to her, ack, ack. She does not answer. Dad wonders if she might have gotten anything. Just then, she porters out of the water, landing right beside him. They hugged and went back home to feed their baby. I am Matthew Lockhart. I am 8 years old. I go to Epping Elementary School. Sometimes I fool around with my friends, but sometimes I don't. Yo, what's up, Plum Dog?
Okay, so there you had the personalized piece, and you really heard that child's voice, didn't you, coming through, as he was able to talk about a little bit about himself and tell that story.
I have a question.
Yes.
He shared his full name.
And that was used at their website, and it was for parents.
So it wasn't accessed by the general.
It was not. And she puts that, but she has gotten, permission because she put those in it's on the DVD. And she did her whole class. They made that. So then she had to get permission to do that. And the people buying this are educators. But that's a really good point. What could you put on your website? What would be allowed as far as identifying information? Can you have that last little blurb about the child? Can you have their face? Do you know?
I would say not first and last name. And
Yeah.
Not tied to a picture.
And see, that would be something that you would want to check and see. This was mainly done in their classroom. And that's how they kind of got to introduce themselves. But absolutely, if you're broadcasting to the world, and that's why you'll want to choose, and they might choose a really fun name too, Fire Truck One or something, and that's going to be kind of the way that they publish, and everybody in their class knows that that's them.
Would getting permission to have that photo up be the same as whenever parents sign for permission that their child's photo can be taken or maybe saved?
I think that's going to at some point be something that is absolutely requested. It's just like even the ability to use the internet. Sometimes you have to get that permission as well. So, yeah. Angie, do you have something to say about that?
I would just say to check with your technology
And school
Acceptable use
principal.
policies.
Yep.
Principal, technology director, acceptable use policy, usually there's something there about, in my presentation, I had a similar question about student photos, and in one of my districts, you have, you can put kids' photos out there, in another district, you could not put student photos, and if you did have their photo, they had to be in a group of like so many people and that sort of thing. So every district is different.
Yep. Good point.
And I
But
always had them just do first names, in photo stories.
do all of you know about your acceptable use policies at the school? Do you go through those together? And is it updated to include digital media? Okay. It's a good place to start and just to find out what you can do. Now that you see that there's kind of a variety of ways of doing things, you might want to just ask a little bit about that. All right, any other comments or questions? What about the child's voice? Did that add something to the story? Yeah, and you know, more than just writing the story or drawing the picture, there's something powerful about putting that together. And you know, he did that with Photo Story, and he just left it on the traditional merging between the slides that automatically happens. He picks the music in the background, and that was kind of the way they did that and put together a neat story. So you can scan their pictures whenever you have a link that can go into the story that you're creating. So if they've created pictures, and the students can scan them. I was in one art teacher's class, and she said that's always what we do. We have the students go and scan their own photos. Do you do that too? I'm seeing some heads nod. Yeah, I mean, they're able to do that too. So they can create the picture, or they can go into KidPix or another online drawing tool, and they can go ahead and just make their picture right online and then put it into a digital story. So there's just a lot of ways, but it would be a way that you could still let them do their traditional artwork and then upload those and make it into a digital story at that point. All right, this is a photo story download. And that's a free program, but it runs on a PC. iMovie works as well, and maybe Angie can help me walk around too if some are going to run it on iMovie and want to. So anyway, what I do want to have you do, and I'm going to show you just an Glogster yet, and one other option, and then give you a little bit of time, and a couple of iPad apps too. I don't know if some people have apps, but there are some great ways that you can create digital stories with the iPads as well. So I thought if we could just look at a few different options, and then we'll give you some workshop time to get started looking at those. This is a free download for Photo Story. So if you go in to this site, and I put pretty specific directions on the sheet for you, just type in Photo Story 3 and it will come up. And if you have an older machine, it's a pretty common program. And the nice thing about Photo Story 3 is it's really kind of a 4-step plan. That's all you do. Number 1, and it just comes up with a title at the top. It says import your pictures, and when you click on it, it just opens to your photo gallery. So whatever you want to bring in, you just click on those. And if you hold your control button down, you can click all 3, 4, 5 pictures that you want. You line them up on the storyboard and in the order that you want. And then the next thing you'll do is you'll put in if you want any titles. If you don't, that's fine. If you don't want words. Then the third part is if you're going to have script and narrate, you do that part. And it works fine to use the computer. If you want the child to make a really clear audio, you can always use a microphone of some sort that you just plug into the side and it gets really clear. But try, I mean, they're so nice on the computers today, the built-in mics. And then the final part was movement. And again, if you leave it automatic, it will just zoom in and out for you. So it's really quite simple. Then it says publish, and you're pretty much done. So once they've collected those pictures or videos and images, and they have a story to tell, they can tell that. They can put it together where it doesn't take just all that long. So I will let you kind of look at that one later. If we go to the Glogster site, what a Glogster is actually an educational poster. And so it allows you to create a poster which could be a a book report alternative, a way to pull together research information. It's that creating of multimedia that we want to help students with. This is what they can look like. These are some sample Glogsters. So you can put in images and graphics and videos and just a number of different, in text, of course, to tell the story that you want to. And you can create a Glogster. You can purchase an educator's license or for students, and they will let you do some things at no cost. But when I went in the first time, I was able to do some video recording and grab some pictures, but then after that, I just did the linking part. So as you're looking, if whatever your topic is, you start with some graphics, and these are all the categories. So this would be something, this is like an animated graphic, so I could use it. When I use it, it just shows up. If I want this, I want that. So then you just actually click and drag those pieces to where you want them. And that gives you some graphic. And then you want to add some text. So you can put it in a bubble, however you want to go ahead and put some text on. Or a title, if we want to call it, let's see, whoops. Whoops. Well, excuse me?
Use it and you can fill it.
Thank you. So if we say something like that's it. So if we want to say, I love technology, we can do that and put it in. So you go ahead and put in the various things that you want. If I want to go to an image, you can upload from your own picture files. You can link to any location on the website. And you can also grab an image of yourself. But I think, does that have to be with a paid subscription? I think so. Okay, and then you can put in videos, sound, data, you can draw on it, and just create the poster that you would like it to be. We just went to actually a conference where every person who was presenting used a Glogster. So they had all of their information instead of the old traditional poster. It was all put into an interactive kind of a format. So that's just another program that you might want to play around with. All right, and then just a couple of quick apps. Our Story or Show Me. Have you done Show Me? Anyone? That's a way that you can also go in and pull some video. You can take pictures, and you can do that right on. If you've got an iPad too, you can grab it right there, put those together. And again, the idea is every one of these they can publish and they can put at the web instantly. So what I want to do with you now is just to have you brainstorm for a couple of minutes about a subject in your classroom where you could envision digital stories being used. Okay, I want to hear some of your great ideas. Where are some places you could think of using digital storytelling in your classroom?
Well, we writing is a necessity here, so those that don't like to use pencil and paper or can't really spell words, they can orally tell the story and then go back and write it.
I love it. And you know, if you have iPads, do you know about Dragon Dictation? Dragon Dictation is the biggest find. It makes buying an iPad worth it because it's a $200 program originally set up for businesses, and it will take the child's voice and turn it into text. So if you want and it's free on the iPad. So it's kind of like taking $200 off the $500 price, you know. But it's wonderful because if the child has an idea when they come back from their trip or their field trip, they can just say their ideas and it will record those, and then they have a text to start from, and then they can turn that into the digital story by taking their pictures and other pieces and composing this new piece. So that's a great idea. Thank you. And especially as you're working with the assessments, the writing assessments, are you using online this year? Are you testing online? No? Okay. I know there's some talk about when that's going to happen, if they're going to have to compose in an online format. But this just starts to get them ready for that as well. When they it's Dragon Dictation, and it's just an app. You can buy it for your computer. You can buy it for your laptop, but it's a $200 program, and it's free on the iPad. And it's fairly miraculous because as the child says the story, it comes out written. And so it gives, again, our theme of giving voice to the child. They have something to say, and they're able to do that. Okay, so with writing, we could use digital storytelling. What was another area you came up with? Do you have a good idea up here?
Not a good idea, but we got an idea. I've got a group of kids that are my high readers, so I only meet with them once a week.
Yes.
And then towards and they're reading the chapter books that take 2 or 3 weeks to go through.
Yes.
And so having them do a Glogster, the poster, each week about the parts, so summarizing what they've gotten for that week.
That's powerful. And again, they can scan in. If they want to draw a picture, they can scan it in. They can, sometimes on the reading website even, you can find those character pictures or something. Again, the powerful part of comprehension, right, is what did that really mean? So it might not be the actual picture from the text, but it meant that he was afraid. So how would they put that into a poster? They could tell, they can narrate and put that on the poster. They can tell a little bit about it, and then somehow symbolize it. So it's kind of that critical thinking and that going beyond. I like that. That's a great way of summarizing and helping them move on throughout the weeks. And you're teaching a little bit of technology, which is a good idea too. Other ideas, where could you use digital storytelling? Tell me how you'd use it in math.
Story problems, stage makeup rooms, story problems, and illustrate it, and tell it, and solve it, and analyze it.
And the amazing thing is, it doesn't take very long. When I did that Breckenridge one, the hard thing is having the pictures. I put that together in about 20 minutes. So once you teach your students how to do that, and they can, you show them. How many of you have little flip cameras in your school? Okay, find out about those. Those are a great tool. And when we go to schools, they always say, yeah, we have them, we never use them. Use them. We had them in 2 sectionals actually here. So if you go to the round tables and you look at the ones that said that they were going to do the video recording, just go and play with them. We'll have those video recorders out. But you just literally touch record and stop, and it will collect that information for you. And it's got the little plug-in on the camera. You plug it into your computer, and it's right there. So that's another great find, and they make great digital stories. Any other ideas? So we've got math. We're really saying across the curriculum. Did anyone go to Beth Einspar's presentation? She did one on the animal unit. I think a lot of schools do animals, and how to use iMovie, and just to go ahead and put that into iMovie, so that is your report format. So she's another good person to talk to at that round table time if you want additional ideas. Okay, I think those are some good ideas. What I want you to do now is to play around with some of these ideas. So if you can't download the photo story, you can bring up iMovie and just look at bringing in your photos or video, again, with the idea of telling a story. And you've got your voice narration. And I'm going to go ahead and ask Angie if she'll just kind of walk around with me, and we'll just kind of help you. Enough space in there. Did you find something?